A star shines brightly, yet that very light casts long shadows behind the glamorous stage. Kim Taehyung, known to the world as V of BTS, is not merely an idol. He is a symbol of artistic freedom that often collides with the machinery of the industry. Behind the smile that captivates millions, lies a story of choices, sacrifices, and battles that few dare to speak of. His relationship with HYBE, the giant agency that raised him, holds a complexity far deeper than that of a simple artist-company dynamic. Every photo, every post, every small step he shares with the public carries a weight greater than mere aesthetics. Behind the scenes, there are long negotiations about image, career direction, and even about how much freedom an artist should be allowed in expressing himself. Often, Taehyung stands at the crossroads, whether to follow the grand current dictated by the system, or to fight for the preservation of his own soul. Each smile in front of the camera may look effortless, but behind it lies layers of dilemmas unseen by the public eye. HYBE, with its vast power and control, naturally seeks to keep the BTS brand intact, stable, and safe from turbulence. Yet Taehyung, with his free artistic spirit, is always in search of space to breathe, to create, and to speak in his own language. The meeting of these two great currents, an all-controlling corporation and an artist who refuses to be confined, creates a tension almost invisible, yet deeply felt. This story is not simply about contracts and rules, but about the cost of freedom in the global entertainment world. There are moments behind the curtains when Taehyung must choose silence, even though his heart longs to shout. At times, even a simple Instagram post becomes a subtle act of resistance against a narrative trying to be controlled. Fans may only see the end result, beautiful photos, captivating videos, or polished commercials. But few know that each of those details may have gone through long discussions, even heated debates behind closed doors. Taehyung never truly stops challenging limits. He only chooses subtler, quieter, yet still powerful ways. He knows that openly fighting comes with high risk, but also that complete silence would mean losing himself. Every piece of art he shares, every expression in an advertisement, is part of an invisible dialogue with his agency. HYBE may wish to present a safe, neat, and controlled version of him, but Taehyung insists on bringing forth his raw, emotional, and unpredictable self. This conflict creates a compelling narrative, a silent battle between commercial power and creative spirit. For Taehyung, preserving his identity is not merely a wish, but a necessity to survive as an artist. Each time he appears before the public, an unspoken question lingers: is this the true Taehyung, or a version polished by the system? Behind the curtains, this story unfolds like a long drama, charged with emotional tension. At times, HYBE appears fully in control, yet at others, Taehyung finds ways to leave his personal imprint. Perhaps this is why fans feel his depth so strongly, because every expression, every pose, is not just performance, but a statement. The story of Taehyung versus HYBE is not an open war, but a delicate dance between compromise and self-determination. And behind it all, one thing is clear: there is a greater tale yet to be told, about an artist fighting to preserve his voice amid the tides of an unforgiving industry. This story is still unfolding, and one day, the hidden chapters may come to light. From the very beginning of his debut with BTS, Taehyung showed a different color. He was not just a singer with a melodious voice and handsome face, but an artist hungry for room to express himself. In the early years, this difference appeared as a sweet uniqueness that added flavor to the group. But as time went on, the difference grew sharper, and at some point began to collide with the company's larger interests. HYBE, as the agency behind BTS, has a vested interest in keeping the group's image consistent. Every member must appear harmonious, polished, and aligned with the overarching narrative. Yet Taehyung never quite fit into that frame. He prefers the gray areas, spaces where he can create something unexpected, even at the risk of being seen as out of line. This is evident in his use of social media. While other members often post safe, controlled content aligned with the group's image, Taehyung chooses to express himself through artistic portraits, mysterious captions, or simple yet meaningful photos. To some, these are just ordinary posts. But to those who understand, they are statements that he wants to be seen as himself, not merely as a cog in the BTS machine. The tension grew stronger as Taehyung embarked on solo projects. HYBE certainly wanted every solo effort to flow smoothly under their strategy, but Taehyung often infused his personal touch, sometimes straying from the prepared formula. In the Compose coffee commercial, for example, instead of just being a model, he transformed every frame into a piece of art with his own emotional narrative. This was clearly not the standard approach, but rather a subtle defiance against an overly rigid system. Such conflicts are never openly broadcast to the public, but the vibrations are felt. There is a reason why fans often sense something behind Taehyung's seemingly simple smile. There is energy, emotion, and a hidden story that does not fully align with the company narrative. Still, the relationship between Taehyung and HYBE cannot be seen only as a clash. It is a two-sided bond, a company trying to protect its greatest asset, and an artist striving to keep his soul alive. It is a tug-of-war dance, filled with compromise, but also with collisions. Fans speculate that there are moments when Taehyung holds himself back to avoid triggering storms in the fragile industry. Yet he always finds ways to leave subtle signs of resistance, through expressions, words, or visual art. All of it affirms one thing: he will never lose his identity. On the other hand, HYBE is aware that this very uniqueness is what makes Taehyung beloved. They may try to restrain him, but at the same time, they know his global appeal comes from an authenticity that cannot be manufactured. This is their greatest dilemma: how to control something that shines precisely because of its freedom. The narrative of Taehyung vs. HYBE is not one of mortal enemies, but of the constant pull between system and individual, between massive corporate interests and the voice of the heart. And therein lies its allure, a real-life drama, yet one seen by only a few. This story has no ending yet. Every time Taehyung posts a new photo, every time he speaks in an interview, every time he stands on stage, the same question arises: is this the managed Taehyung, or the true Taehyung? And that is why, for his devoted fans, Taehyung's journey is more than just a music career. It is the story of an artist fighting to keep his voice alive, even when standing against the giant that raised him. Behind all the spotlights, Taehyung remains a man who wants to be heard, not just seen. He is not just a face on billboards or a voice on grand stages. He is an artist who refuses to be defined solely by contracts or company strategies. His relationship with HYBE is a paradox, both a source of opportunity and a wall of limitation. Yet in the cracks of that wall, Taehyung finds ways to shine in his own way. Every work, every smile, every post is part of his quiet resistance, not through shouting, but through aesthetics. Not through confrontation, but through authenticity. This is Taehyung's language of defiance, understood only by those who truly pay attention. For fans, this story is more than just celebrity gossip. It is a mirror of how an individual preserves their identity in a system that seeks to standardize everything. To the world, this may seem like a small fragment of a star's journey. But to those who love him, it is a grand story of courage to remain oneself. The big question hangs: how long will this tug-of-war continue? Will Taehyung one day be fully free to choose his own path? Or will this tension remain an eternal part of the mystery that makes him so captivating? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain: Taehyung has shown the world that true beauty is born when an artist dares to preserve his voice, even when standing against the very giant that made him. And that is why the story of Taehyung vs. HYBE will be remembered, not as a destructive conflict, but as a legend of courage, freedom, and art that refuses to be silenced. In the end, the story of Taehyung vs. HYBE is not merely about an artist and his agency. It is a true portrait of an artist fighting to preserve his identity in the midst of a system determined to shape him according to the standards of the industry. Taehyung has shown that true beauty is not born from mere obedience, but from the courage to remain authentic. Every smile, every gaze, and every work he creates stands as proof that his voice cannot be silenced. And perhaps, it is precisely because of this tug-of-war that Taehyung becomes all the more special. He is not just an idol, but a legend writing his own story, a story still unfinished, one that will continue to keep the world waiting for its next chapter. This story is not about open rebellion. Taehyung never stands on stage and shouts in defiance. No. His resistance comes in soft whispers, in Instagram posts laced with hidden meaning, in the gaze of his eyes that carry 1,000 unspoken words.